Hello, everyone, and welcome as Zenith Players begins our 15th week of live readings with Pygmalion. And thank you so much for your patience as we worked out some technical difficulties on our end. It's all my fault. I am TJ, our technical director. All of the actors you'll be hearing tonight are volunteering their time and their talents from their homes to bring some entertainment to your homes, and we would like to thank them very much for their time and especially their patience in this first half hour as we worked on whatever was going on. We would also like to thank our friend, Your Friendly Neighborhood Shakespeare, for hosting this and all of our content on his pages. Check out his website at shakespeareapproves.com, his Patreon at patreon.com/Shakespeare. He can also be found on Facebook. You might be viewing him right now on Facebook at Shakespeare Approves, Your Friendly Neighborhood Shakespeare. We're very much looking forward to his production this Wednesday, that's 2 days from now, with the social distancing players of Macbeth, Death by Fluffy Kittens. We'll provide links to all of his content in the comments. If you are interested in more information about our totally volunteer organization, check out our website, zenithplayers.com. Feel very free to check out our very attractive donations page. 100% of all donations go towards production costs, which these days consist of the various subscriptions that allow for these readings to happen. If you would like to read with us in future projects, send us an email at casting@zenithplayers.com and we will get you on board. Join us this Saturday for Two Gentlemen of Verona. As always, we want to acknowledge and thank all of the medical professionals and essential workers who have been working tirelessly to help keep us all as healthy and safe as possible. We also want to acknowledge those demonstrating and protesting for bravely pushing forward the simple fact that Black Lives Matter. Now, please relax and enjoy Pygmalion with Gwen Wark, Andrew Gellos, Garrett Hicks, Steve Anderson, Emily Brennan, Caitlin Jurowitz, Sarah Decker, Patrick Brockway, Lorraine Ruth Rosenberg, Andrew Weinstein, Mira Singer, Christian Recca. Pygmalion, Act 1.
I'm getting chilled to the bone. What can Freddie be doing all this time? He's been gone 20 minutes.
Not so long, but he ought to have got us a cab by this.
He won't get no cab on till 11:30, missus, when they come back after dropping their theatre fares.
But we must have a cab. We can't stand here until 11:30. It's too bad.
Well, it ain't my fault, missus.
If Freddie had a bit of gumption, he would have got one at the theatre door.
What could he have done, poor boy?
Other people got cabs. Why couldn't he? Well, haven't you got a cab?
There's not one to be had for love or money.
Oh, Freddie, there must be one. You can't have tried.
It's too tiresome. Do you expect us to go and get one ourselves?
I tell you, they're all engaged. The rain was so sudden, nobody was prepared, and everybody had to take a cab. I've been to the Charing Cross one way and nearly to Ludgate Circus the other, and they were all engaged.
Did you try Trafalgar Square?
There wasn't one at Trafalgar Square.
Did you try?
I tried as far as Charing Cross Station. Did you expect me to walk to Hammersmith?
You haven't tried at all.
You really are very helpless, Freddie. Go again and don't come back until you have found a cab.
I shall simply get soaked for nothing.
And what about us? Are we to stay here all night in this drought with next to nothing on? Oh, you selfish pig.
Oh, very well. I'll go.
Freddie, where are you going, dear?
Sorry.
This man is for you. There's 2 bunches of violets trod into the mud.
How did you know that my son's name is Freddie, pray?
Oh, he's your son, is he? Well, if you'd done your duty by him as a mother should, he'd know better than to go up spoil poor girl's flowers and trod them in the mud. Will you pay me for them?
Do nothing of the sort, Mother. The idea.
Please, allow me, Clara. Have you any pennies?
No, but nothing smaller than 6pence.
I'll give you change for a tanner, kind lady.
Give it to me. Now, this is for your flowers.
Oh, thank you kindly, lady.
Make her give you the change. These things are only a penny a bunch.
Do hold your tongue, Clara.
Oh,
You
thank
can
you,
keep
lady.
the change.
Thank you, lady.
Now, tell me how you know that young gentleman's name.
Oh, I didn't.
I heard you call him by it. Don't try to deceive me.
I was trying to deceive you. I called him Freddie or Charlie, same as you might yourself. You were talking to a stranger and trying to be pleasant.
6 pence thrown away. Really, Mama, you might have spared Freddie that.
Oh, sir, is there any sign of it stopping?
I'm afraid not. It started worse than ever about 2 minutes ago.
Oh, dear.
Well, if it's worse, then it's nearly over. So cheer, Captain, and buy a flower off the poor girl.
I'm sorry, I haven't any change.
Oh, I can give change, Captain.
For a sovereign? Nothing less.
Go on. Oh, do buy a flower for me, Captain. I can change half a crown. Take this for 6 pence.
Don't be troublesome. There's a good girl. I really haven't any change. Oh, stop. Here's 3 halfpence, if that's of any use to you.
Oh, thank you, sir.
You be careful. Give him a flower for it. There's a bloke here behind taking down every blessed word you're saying.
I ain't done nothing wrong by speaking to the gentleman. I've a right to sell flowers if I keep off the curb. I'm a respectable girl, so help me. I never spoke to him except to ask him to buy a flower off me.
Who's hurting you?
Don't start hollering.
Steady on.
Easy, easy.
What'd she do?
Where is he?
Attack taking her down.
What, him?
Yes, him over there.
Took the money off the gentleman.
Oh, sir, don't charge me. You don't know what it means to me. They'll take away my character and drive me on the streets for speaking to gentlemen. Well, you think you know what that
There. Who's hurting you, you silly girl? What do you take me for?
It's all right. He's a gentleman. Look at his boots. She thought he was a copper's knock, sir.
What's a copper's knock?
It's a copper's knock, as you might say. What else would you call it? A sort of informer.
I take my Bible oath. I never said a word.
Do you take me for a policeman?
Well, what do you take my words down for? How do I know whether you took me down right? You show me what you wrote about me. Well, what's that? That ain't proper right. You know, I can't read that.
I can. Cheer up, Captain. Ha a flower for poor girl.
It's because I called him Kevin. I meant no harm. Oh, sir, don't let him lay a charge against me for a word like that. Oh, please, sir, you...
Charge? I make no charge. Really, sir, if you're a detective, you need not begin protecting me against molestation by young women until I ask you. Anybody could see that the girl meant no harm.
Of course they could.
What business is it yours?
You mind your own affairs.
He wants promotion, he does.
Taking down people's words.
Girl never said a word to him.
Well, she did.
Nice thing.
Shelter from the rain without being insulted.
He ain't a tick. He's a bloomin' busybody. That's what he is. I'll tell you, look at his boots.
And how are all your people down in Chelsea?
Who told you more people came from Chelsea?
Never you mind. They did. How do you come to be up from the Far East? You were born in Lisson Grove.
Oh, what harm is there in my leaving Lisson Grove? It wasn't fit for a pig to live in, and I had to pay 4 and 6 a week.
Live where you like, but stop that noise.
Come. He can't touch you. You have a right to live where you please.
A Park Lane, for instance. I'd like to go into the housing question with you, I would.
Oh, I'm a good girl, I am.
Do you know where I come from?
Hoxton.
Well, who said I didn't? Blimey, you know everything, you do.
Ain't no call to meddle me, he ain't.
Of course he ain't. Don't you stand for it. See here, what call have you to know about people what never offer to meddle with you? Where's your warrant?
Yes, where's your warrant?
Well, let him say what he likes. I don't want to truck with him.
You take us for dirt under your feet, don't you? Catch you taking liberties with a gentleman?
Yeah, tell him where he come from if you want to go fortune telling.
Cheltenham, Harrow, Cambridge, and India.
Quite right.
He knows all about it.
Tell him proper.
Hear him tell the top where he come from.
May I ask, sir, do you do this for your living at a music hall?
I've thought of that. People, or perhaps I shall someday.
He's no gentleman, he ain't, to interfere with a poor girl.
What on earth is Freddie doing? I shall get pneumonia if I stay in this drought any longer.
Earl's Court.
Will you please keep your impertinent remarks to yourself?
Did I say that out loud? I didn't mean to. I beg your pardon. Your mother's Epsom, unmistakably.
How very curious. I was brought up in Large Lady Park near Epsom.
What a devil of a name. Excuse me. You want a cab, do you?
Don't dare speak to me.
Oh, please, please, Clara. We should be so grateful to you, sir, if you found us a cab. Oh, thank you.
Blimey, he's got a whistle. I knowed he was a plainclothes copper.
That ain't no police whistle. That's a sporting whistle.
He's no right to take away my character. My character's the same to me as to any lady.
I don't know whether you've noticed it, but the rain stopped about 2 minutes ago.
So it has. Why didn't you say so before? And us losing our time listening to your silliness.
I can tell where you come from. You come from Anwell. Go back there.
Hanwell.
Thank you, teacher. Ha ha. So long.
Frightening people like that. How would he like it himself?
It's quite fine now, Clara. We can walk to a motor bus. Come.
But the cab. Oh, how tiresome.
Poor girl. Hard enough for her to live without being worried and chivied.
How do you do it, if I may ask?
Simply phonetics. The science of speech, that's my profession. Also my hobby. Happy is the man who can make a living by his hobby. You can spot an Irishman or a Yorkshireman by his brogue. You can place any man within 6 miles. I can place him within 2 miles in London, sometimes within 2 streets.
Ought to be ashamed of himself, unmanly coward.
But isn't there a living in that?
Oh yes, quite a fat one. This is an age of upstarts. Men begin in Kentish Town with £80 a year and end in Park Lane with 100,000. They want to drop Kentish Town, but they give themselves away every time they open their mouths. Now, I can teach them...
Let him mind his own business and leave a poor girl.
Woman, cease this detestable boo-hooing instantly, or else seek the shelter of some other place of worship.
I've a right to be here if I like, same as you.
A woman who utters such depressing and disgusting sounds has no right to be anywhere. Remember that you are a human being with a soul and the divine gift of articulate speech. But your native language is the language of Shakespeare and Milton and the Bible. And don't sit there crooning like a bilious pigeon. Oh, what a heavens, what a sound. Ooh.
God.
You see, this creature with her curbstone English, the English that will keep her in the gutter to the end of her days. Well, sir, 3 months, I could pass that girl off as a duchess at an ambassador's garden party. I could even get her a place as a lady's maid or shop assistant, which requires better English. That's the sort of thing I do for commercial millionaires. And on the profits of it, I do genuine scientific work in phonetics, and a little as a poet of Miltonic lines.
I am myself a student of Indian dialects, and
Are you now? Do you know Colonel Pickering, the author of Spoken Sanskrit?
I am Colonel Pickering. Who are you?
Henry Higgins, author of Higgins' Universal Alphabet.
Oh, I came from India to meet you.
And I was going to India to meet you.
Where do you live?
27A Wimble Street. Come and see me tomorrow.
I'm at the Carlton. Come with me now. Let's have a jaw over some supper.
Right you are.
Buy a flower, kind gentleman. I'm short for me lodging.
I really haven't any change. I am sorry.
Liar. You said you could change half a crown.
Oh, you ought be stuffed with nails, you ought. Take a whole blooming basket for 6pence.
A reminder. Here you are.
Oh. Oh. Oh.
Got one at last. Hello. Where are the two ladies who were here?
They walked to the bus when the rain stopped.
And left me with the cab on my hands. Damnation!
Never you mind, young man. I'm going home in a taxi. Angel Court, Drury Lane, round the corner of Micklejohn's oil shop. Let's see how fast you can make her up it.
Well, I'm dashed.
End of Act 1. Act 2.
Well, I think that's the whole show.
It's really amazing. I haven't taken half of it in, you know.
Would you like to go over any of it again?
No, thank you. No, not now. I'm quite done up for this morning.
Tired of listening to sounds?
Yes, it's a fearful strain. I rather fancied myself because I can pronounce 24 distinct vowel sounds, but your 130 beat me. I can't hear a bit of a difference between me and most of them.
Oh, that comes with practice. You hear no difference at first, but you keep on listening, and presently you find they're all as different as A from B. What's the matter?
A young woman wants to see you, sir.
A young woman? What does she want?
Well, sir, she says you'll be glad to see her when you know what she's come about. She's quite a common girl, sir. Very common indeed. I should have sent her away, only I thought perhaps you wanted her to talk into your machine. I hope I've not done wrong, but you really should see such a queer person sometimes. You'll excuse me, sir. I'm sure, sir,
Oh, that's all right, Mrs. Pierce. Has she any interesting accent?
Oh, something dreadful, sir. Really, I don't know how you could take an interest.
Let's have her up. Show her up, Mrs. Pierce.
Very well, sir. It's for you to say.
This is rather a bit of luck. I'll show you how I make records. We'll set her talking, and I'll take down first in Bell's visible speech, then in broad Romic. And then we'll get her on the phonograph so that you can turn her on as often as you like with a written transcript before you.
This is the young woman, sir.
Why, this is the girl I jotted down last night. She's no use. I've got all the records I want of Pleasant Grove lingo, and I'm not going to waste another cylinder on it. Be off with you. I don't want you.
You be so saucy, you ain't heard what I've come for yet. Did you tell him I came in a cab?
Nonsense, girl. What do you think a gentleman like Mr. Higgins wants you came in?
Oh, we are proud. Oh, he ain't about giving you lessons, not him. I heard him say so. Well, I ain't come here to ask for any compliment, and if my money's not good enough, I can go elsewhere.
Good enough for what?
Good enough for you. Now you know, do you? I've come to have lessons, I am, and to pay for them, make no mistake.
Well, what do you expect me to say to you?
Well, if you was a gentleman, you might ask me to sit down, I think. Don't I tell you I'm bringing you business?
Pickering, shall we ask this baggage to sit down, or shall we throw her out the window?
Be called a baggage when I've offered to pay like any lady.
What is it you want, my girl?
I want to be a lady in a flower shop instead of selling at the corner of Tottenham Court Road. They won't take me unless I can talk more genteel. He said he could teach me. Well, here I am ready to pay him. Not asking any favour. And he treats me as if I was dirt.
How could you be such a foolish, ignorant girl as to think you could afford to pay Mr. Higgins?
Why shouldn't I? I know what lessons cost as well as you, and I'm ready to pay.
How much?
Now you're talking. I thought you'd come off it when you saw a chance of getting back a bit of what you chucked at me last night. You've had a drop in, haven't you?
Sit down.
Oh, well, if you're going to make a compliment of it.
Sit down.
Sit down, girl. Do as you are told.
Won't you please sit down?
Don't mind if I do.
What's your name?
Liza Doolittle.
Eliza, Elizabeth, Betsy, and Bess. They went to the woods to get a bird's nest.
They found a nest with 4 eggs in it.
They took one apiece and left 3 in it.
Oh, don't be silly.
You mustn't speak to the gentleman like that.
No, why speak sensible to me?
Come back to business. How much do you propose to pay me for the lessons?
Oh, I know what's right. Lady friend of mine gets French lessons for 18 pence from a real French gentleman. Well, you wouldn't have a face to ask me the same for teaching me my own language as you would for French. So I won't give more than a shilling. Take it or leave it.
You know, Pickering, if you consider a shilling not as a simple shilling, but as a percentage of this girl's income, it works out as fully equivalent to 60 or 70 guineas from a millionaire.
How so?
Figure it out. A millionaire has about £150 a day. She earns about half a crown.
Who told you I only earn?
She offers me 2/5 of her day's income for a lesson. 2/5 of a millionaire's income for a day would be somewhere about £60. It's handsome. By George, it's enormous. It's the biggest offer I ever had.
£60? What are you talking about? I never offered you £60. Where I get £60?
Hold your tongue.
But I ain't got £60. Oh.
Don't cry, you silly girl. No one is going to touch your money.
Somebody is going to touch you with a broomstick if you don't stop sniveling. Sit down.
I think you was my father.
If I decide to teach you, I'll be worse than 2 fathers to you. Here.
What's this for?
To wipe your eyes. To wipe any part of your face that feels moist. Remember, that's your handkerchief, and that's your sleeve. Don't mistake the one for the other if you wish to become a lady in a shop.
It's no use talking to her like that, Sir Mr. Higgins. She doesn't understand you. Besides, you're quite wrong. She doesn't do it that way at all.
Here, you give me that handkerchief. He gave it to me, not you.
He did. I think it must be regarded as her property, Mrs. Pierce.
Serves you right, Mr. Higgins.
Higgins, I'm interested. What about the ambassador's garden party? I'll say you're the greatest teacher alive if you make that good. I'll bet you all the expenses of the experiment that you can't do it. And I'll pay for the lessons.
Oh, you are real good, Captain.
It's almost irresistible. She's so deliciously low, so horribly dirty.
Oh, I ain't dirty. I washed me face and hands before I come, I did.
You're certainly not going to turn her head with flattery, Higgins.
Oh, don't say that, sir. There's more than one way of turning a girl's head, and nobody can do it better than Mr. Higgins, though he may not always mean it. I do hope, sir, you won't encourage him to do anything foolish.
What is life but a series of inspired follies? The difficulty is to find them to do. Never lose a chance. It doesn't come every day. I shall make a duchess of this draggle-tailed guttersnipe. Yes, in 6 months, in 3 if she has a good ear and a quick tongue, I'll take her anywhere and pass her off as anything. We'll start today, now, this moment. Take her away and clean her, Mrs. Pierce. Scrub her with a stone if it won't come off any other way. Is there a good fire in the kitchen?
Yes, but...
Take all her clothes off and burn them. Ring up Whiteley or somebody for new ones. Wrap her up in brown paper till they come.
You're no gentleman to talk of such things. I'm a good girl, I am, and I won't what the likes of you are. I do.
We want none of your Listen Grove prudery here, young woman. You've got to learn to behave like a duchess. Take her away, Mrs. Pierce. If she gives you any trouble, wallop her.
No, I'll call the police, I will.
But I've no place to put her.
Put her in the dustbin.
Come now, Higgins, be reasonable.
You must be reasonable, Mr. Higgins. Really, you must. You can't walk over everybody like that.
I walk over everybody? My dear Mrs. Pierce, my dear Pickering, I never had the slightest intention of walking over anyone. All I propose is that we should be kind to this poor girl. We must help her to prepare and fit herself for her new station in life. If I did not express myself clearly, it was because I did not wish to hurt her delicacy or yours.
Well, did you ever hear anything like that, sir?
Never, Mrs. Pierce, never.
What's the matter?
Well, the matter is, sir, that you can't pick a girl up like that as if you're picking up a pebble on the beach.
Why not?
Why not? But you don't know anything about her. What about her parents? She must be married.
God.
There, as the girl very properly says, gone. Married indeed. Don't you know that a woman of that class looks a worn-out drudge of 50 a year after she's married?
Who'd marry me?
By George, Eliza, the streets will be strewn with the bodies of men shooting themselves for your sake before I've done with you.
Nonsense, sir. You mustn't talk like that to her.
I'm going away. He's off as jump, he is. I don't want no balmies teaching me.
Oh, indeed. I'm mad, am I? Very well, Mrs. Pierce. You needn't order the new clothes for her. Throw her out.
No, you've got no right to touch me.
You see now what comes of being saucy? This way, please.
I didn't want no clothes. I wouldn't have taken them. I can buy my own clothes.
You're an ungrateful, wicked girl. This is my return for offering to take you out of the gutter and dress you beautifully and make a lady of you?
Stop, Mr. Higgins. I won't allow it. It's you that are wicked. Go home to your parents, girl, and tell them to take better care of you.
Well, I ain't got no parents. They told me I was big enough to earn me own living and turn me out.
Where's your mother?
I ain't got no mother. Her that turned me out was my sixth stepmother. But I done without them, and I'm a good girl, I am.
Very well, then, what on earth is all this fuss about? The girl doesn't belong to anybody, is of no use to anybody but me. You can adopt her, Mrs. Pierce. I'm sure a daughter would be a great amusement to you. Now, don't make any more fuss. Take her downstairs and...
But what's to become of her? Is she to be paid anything? Don't be sensible, sir.
Oh, pay her whatever is necessary. Put it down in the housekeeping book. What on earth will she want with money? She'll have her food and her clothes. She'll only drink if you give her money.
Yes, you are a brute. It's a lie. No one ever saw the sign of liquor on me.
Did it occur to you, Higgins, that the girl has some feelings?
Oh, no, I don't think so. Not any feelings that we need bother about. Have you, Eliza?
I've got my feelings the same as anyone else.
You see the difficulty.
What difficulty?
To get her to talk grammar, the mere pronunciation is easy enough.
I don't want to talk grammar. I want to talk like lady.
Will you please keep to the point, Mr. Higgins? I want to know on what term the girl is to be here. Is she to have any wage? And what is to become of her when you're finished your teaching? You must look ahead a little.
What's to become of her if I leave her in the gutter? Tell me that, Mrs. Pierce.
That's her own business, not yours, Mr. Higgins.
Well, when I've done with her, we can throw her back into the gutter, and then it will be her own business again. So that's all right.
Oh, you've no feeling, aren't you? You don't care for nothing but yourself. Here, I've had enough of this. I'm going. You ought to be ashamed of yourself, you ought.
Have some chocolates, Eliza.
What? How do I know what might be in them? I've heard of girls being drugged by the like of you.
Pledge of good faith, Eliza. I eat one half, you eat the other. You shall have boxes of them, barrels of them, every day. You shall live on them, eh?
I wouldn't have ate it, only I'm too ladylike to take it out of my mouth.
Listen, Eliza, I think you said you came here in a taxi.
Well, what if I did? I've got a good right to take a taxi as anyone else.
You have, Eliza, and in the future you shall have as many taxis as you want. You shall go up and down and round the town in a taxi every day. Think of that, Eliza.
Mr. Higgins, You're tempting the girl. It's not right. She should think of the future.
At her age? Nonsense. Time enough to think of the future when you haven't any future to think of. No, Eliza, do as this lady does. Think of other people's futures, but never think of your own. Think of chocolates and taxis and gold and diamonds.
No, I don't want no gold nor diamonds. I'm a good girl, I am.
You shall remain so, Eliza, under the care of Mrs. Pierce, and you shall marry an officer of the guards with a beautiful moustache, the son of a marquis who will disinherit him for marrying you, but will relent when he sees your beauty and goodness.
Excuse me, Higgins, but I really must interfere. Mrs. Pierce is quite right. If this girl is to put herself in your hands for 6 months for an experiment in teaching, she must understand thoroughly what she's doing.
How can she? She's incapable of understanding anything. Besides, do any of us understand what we are doing? If we did, would we ever do it?
Very clever, Higgins, but not sound sense. Miss Doolittle.
Oh.
There. That's all you get out of Eliza. Oh! Now, no use explaining. As a military man, you ought to know that. Give her orders, that's what she wants. Eliza, you are to live here for the next 6 months, learning how to speak beautifully, like a lady in a florist's shop. If you're good and do what you're told, you shall sleep in a proper bedroom and have lots to eat and money to buy chocolates and rides in taxis. If you're naughty and idle, you will sleep in the back kitchen among the black beetles and be walloped by Mrs. Pierce with a broomstick. At the end of 6 months, you shall go to Buckingham Palace in a carriage, beautifully dressed. If the king finds out you're not a lady, you will be taken by the police to the Tower of London, where your head will be cut off as a warning to other presumptuous flower girls. If you are not found out, you shall have a present of 7 and 6 pence to start life with as a lady in a shop. If you refuse this offer, you will be a most ungrateful and wicked girl, and the angels will weep for you. Now, are you satisfied, Pickering? Can I put it more plainly and more fairly, Mrs. Pierce?
I think you'd better let me speak to the girl properly in private. I don't know that I can take charge of her or consent to the arrangement at all. Of course, I know you don't mean her any harm, but when you get what you call interested in people's accents, you never think or care what happens to them or you. Come with me, Eliza.
That's all right. Thank you, Mrs. Pierce. Bundle her off to the bathroom.
You're a great bully, you are. I won't stay here if I don't like. I won't let nobody wallop me. I never asked to go to Buckingham Palace. I didn't. I never no trouble with the police, not me. I'm a good girl.
Don't answer back, girl. You don't understand the gentleman. Come with me.
Well, what I say is right. I won't go near the king, not if I'm going to have my head chopped off. If I'd known I was letting myself in for, I wouldn't have come here. I've always been a good girl and I never offered to say a word to him, and I don't owe him nothing, and I don't care, and I won't be put upon, and I have my feelings the same as anyone else. And
excuse the straight question, Higgins. Are you a man of good character where women are concerned?
Have you ever met a man of good character where women are concerned?
Yes, very frequently.
Well, I haven't. I find that the moment I let a woman make friends with me, she becomes jealous, exacting, suspicious, and a damned nuisance. I find that the moment I let myself make friends with a woman, I become selfish and tyrannical. Women upset everything. When you let them into your life, you find that the woman is driving at one thing and you're driving at quite another.
At what, for example?
Oh, Lord knows. I suppose the woman wants to live her own life and the man wants to live his, and each tries to drag the other on the wrong track. One wants to go north, the other south, and the result is that both have to go east, though they both hate the east wind. So here I am, a confirmed old bachelor, and likely to remain so.
Come, Higgins, you know what I mean. If I'm to be in this business, I shall feel responsible for that girl. I hope it's understood that no advantage is to be taken of her position.
What? That thing? Sacred, I assure you. You see, she'll be a pupil. Teaching would be impossible unless pupils were scared or sacred. I've taught scores of American millionairesses how to speak English. The best looking women in the world, I'm seasoned. They might as well be blocks of wood. I might as well be a block of wood. It's... well, Mrs. Pierce, is it all right?
I just wish to trouble you, sir, with a word.
Yes,
if I may, Mr. Higgins.
Yes, certainly. Come in. Don't burn that, Mrs. Pierce. I'll keep it as a curiosity.
Handle it carefully, sir. I had promised her not to burn it, but I had better put it in the oven for a while.
Oh, thank you. Well, what have you to say to me?
Am I in the way?
Not at all, sir. Mr. Higgins, will you please be very particular what you say before the girl?
Of course. I am always particular about what I say. Why do you say this to me?
No, sir, you're not at all particular when you've mislaid anything or when you get a little impatient. Now, it doesn't matter before me, I'm used to it, but you really must not swear before the girl.
I swear? I never swear. I detest the habit. What the devil do you mean?
That's what I mean, sir. You swear a great deal too much. I don't mind your damning and your blasting and what the devil and where the devil and who the devil and...
Really? Mrs. Pierce, this language from your lips.
But there is a certain word I must ask you not to use. The girl has just used it herself because the bath was too hot. It begins with the same letter as bath. She knows no better. She's learned it at her mother's knees, but she must not hear it from your lips.
I cannot charge myself with having ever uttered it, Mrs. Pierce, except perhaps in a moment of extreme and justifiable excitement.
Only this morning, sir, you applied it to your boots, to your butter, and to the brown bread.
Oh, that. Mere alliteration, Mrs. Pierce, natural to a poet.
Well, sir, whether you choose to call it, I beg you not to let the girl hear you repeat it.
Oh, very well, very well. Is that all?
No, sir. We shall have to be very particular with this girl as to personal cleanliness.
Certainly, quite right. Most important.
I mean not to be lovely about her dress or untidy and things about.
Just so. I intended to call your attention to that. It is these little things that matter, Pickering. Take care of the piece and the pence, and the pounds will take care of themselves, as is true of personal habits as of money.
Yes, sir. Then might I ask you not come down to breakfast in your dressing gown, or at any rate not to use as napkins to the extent you do, sir. And if you would be so good as to not eat everything off the same plate, and to remember not to put the porridge sauce pot out of your hand on the clean tablecloth, it will be a better example to the girl. You know, you nearly choked yourself with a fishbone in the jam only last week.
I may do things sometimes in absence of mind, but surely I don't do them habitually. By the way, my dressing gown smells most damnably of benzene.
No doubt it does, Mr. Higgins, but if you will wipe your fingers...
Oh, very well, very well. I'll wipe them in my hair in the future.
I hope you're not offended, Mr. Higgins.
Not at all. Not at all. You're quite right, Mrs. Pierce. I shall be particularly careful before the girl. Is that all?
No, sir. Might you use some of those Japanese dresses you bought from abroad? I really can't put her back into her old things.
Certainly. Anything at all, or anything you like. Is that all?
Thank you, sir. That's all.
You know, Pickering, that woman has the most extraordinary ideas about me. Here I am, a shy, diffident sort of man. I've never been able to feel really grown up and tremendous like other chaps. and yet she's firmly persuaded that I'm an arbitrary, overbearing, bossing kind of person. I can't account for it.
Doolittle, sir. Oh, very well, sir.
He may not be a blackguard, Higgins.
Nonsense, of course he's a blackguard.
Whether he is or not, I'm afraid we shall have some trouble with him.
Oh, no, I think not. If there's any trouble, he shall have it with me, not I with him. And are we sure to get something interesting out of him?
About the girl?
No, I mean his dialect.
Oh.
Mr. Doolittle, sir.
Professor Higgins?
Here. Good morning. Sit down.
Morning, Governor. I come about a very serious matter, Governor.
Brought up in Hounslow. Mother Welsh, I should think. What do you do, Doolittle?
What I want is my daughter. That's what I want, see?
Of course you do. You're her father, aren't you? You don't suppose anyone else wants her, do you? I'm glad to see you have some spark of family feeling left. She's upstairs. Take her away at once.
What?
Take her away. Do you suppose I'm going to keep your daughter for you?
Now look here, Governor. Is this reasonable? Is it fair to take advantage of a man like this? The girl belongs to me. You got her. Where do I come in?
Your daughter had the audacity to come to my house and ask me to teach her how to speak properly so she could get a place in a flower shop. This gentleman and my housekeeper have been here all the time. How dare you come here and attempt to blackmail me? You sent her here on purpose.
No, Governor.
You must have. How else could you possibly know where she is?
Don't take a man up like that, Governor.
The police shall take you up. This is a plot to extort money by threats. I shall telephone for the police.
Have I asked you for a brass farthing? I'll leave it to the gentleman here. Have I said a word about money?
What else did you come for?
What would a man come for? Be human, Governor.
Alfred, did you put her up to it?
So help me, Governor, I never did. I take my Bible oath. I ain't seen a girl these 2 months past.
Then how did you know she was here?
I'll tell you, Governor, if you'll only let me get a word in. I'm willing to tell you. I'm wanting to tell you. I'm waiting to tell you.
Pickering, this chap has a certain natural gift for rhetoric. Observe the rhythm of his native wood notes wild. I'm willing to tell you, I'm wanting to tell you, I'm waiting to tell you. Sentimental rhetoric. That's the Welsh strain in him. It also accounts for his mendacity and dishonesty.
Please, Higgins, I'm West Country myself. How did you know the girl was here if you didn't send for her, sir?
It was like this, Governor. The girl took a boy in the taxi to give him a jaunt. Son of a landlady, she is. He is. He hung about on the chance of her giving him a ride home. Well, she sent back for her luggage when she heard you was willing for her to stop here. I met the boy on the corner of Longacre and Endell Street.
A public house, yes?
The poor man's club, Governor. Why shouldn't I?
Do let him tell his story, Higgins.
Well, he told me what was up, and I asked you what was my feelings and my duty as a father. I says to the boy, you bring me the luggage, I says.
But why didn't you go for it yourself?
The landlady wouldn't have trusted me with it, Governor. She's that kind of woman, you know. I had to give the boy a penny before he trusted me with it, a little swine. I brought it to her just to oblige you like, and I'll make myself agreeable, that's all.
How much luggage?
Musical instrument, Governor, a few pictures, a trifle of jewellery, and a birdcage. She said she didn't want any clothes. Now, what was I to think of that, Governor? I ask you as a parent, what was I to think?
So you came to rescue her from worse than death, eh?
Just so, Governor. That's right.
But why did you bring her luggage if you intended to take her away?
Well, have I said a word about taking her away? Have I now?
You're going to take her away, double quick.
Oh, no, Governor, don't say that. I'm not the man to stand in my girl's light. Here's a career opening for her, as you might say, and...
Mrs. Pierce, this is Eliza's father. He has come to take her away. Give her to him.
No, it's a misunderstanding. Now, listen here.
He can't take her away, Mr. Higgins. How can he? You told me to burn her clothes.
Well, that's right. I can't carry the girl through the streets, can I? I'll put it to you.
You have put it to me that you want your daughter. Take your daughter. If she has no clothes, go out and buy her some.
Where's the clothes she coming? Did I burn them? Did your missus here?
I am the housekeeper, if you please. I have sent for some clothes for your girl. When they come, you can take her away. You can wait in the kitchen. This way, sir, please.
Listen here, sir, Governor. You and me is men of the world, ain't we?
Oh, men of the world, are we? You'd better go, Mrs. Pierce.
I think so indeed, sir.
The floor is yours, Mr. Doolittle.
I thank you, Governor. Well, the truth is, I've taken a sort of fancy to you, Governor, and if you want the girl, I'm not so certain on having her back home again, but what I might be open to is an arrangement. Regarded in the light of a young woman, she's a fine, handsome girl. As a daughter, well, she's not worth a keep. So I tell you straight, all I ask is my rights as a father, and you're the last man alive to expect me to let her go for nothing, for I can see you're one of the straight sort, Governor. Well, what's a £5 note to you, and what's Eliza to me?
I think you ought to know, Doolittle, that Mr. Higgins' intentions are purely honourable.
Of course they are, Governor. If I thought there wasn't, I'd ask 50.
Do you mean to say, you callous rascal, that you would rather sell your daughter for £50?
Not in a general way, I wouldn't, but to oblige a gentleman like you, I do a good deal. I do assure you.
Have you no morals, man?
I can't afford them, Governor. Neither could you if you was as poor as me. Not that I mean any harm, you know, but if Liza's going to have a bit out of this, why not me too?
I don't know what to do, Pickering. There can be no question that as a matter of morals, it's a positive crime to give this chap a farthing. And yet I feel a sort of rough justice in his claim.
That's it, Governor. That's all I say. A father's heart, as it were.
Well, I know the feeling, but really it hardly seems right.
Oh, don't say that, Governor. Don't look at it that way. What am I? Governors both. I ask you, what am I? I'm one of the undeserving poor. That's what I am. Think of what it means to a man. It means that he's up against middle-class morality all the time. If there's anything going and I put in for a bit of it, it's always the same story. You're only undeserving, so you can't have it. But my needs is as great as the most deserving widows that's ever got money out of 6 charities in 1 week for the death of the same husband. I don't need less than a deserving man. I need more. I don't eat less hearty than him, and I drink a lot more. I want a bit of amusement because I'm a thinking man. I want cheerfulness and a song and a band when I feel low. But they charge me just the same for everything as they charge the deserving. What is middle-class morality? Just an excuse for never giving me anything. Therefore, I ask you as 2 gentlemen not to play that game with me. I'm playing straight with you. I ain't pretending to be deserving. I'm undeserving, and I don't mean to go on being undeserving. I like it. That's the truth. Will you take advantage of a man's nature to do him out of the price of his own daughter when he's brought up and fed and clothed by the sweat of his brow until she's grown big enough to be interesting to you 2 gentlemen? Is £5 unreasonable? I'll put it to you, and I'll leave it to you.
Pickering, if we were to take this man in hand for 3 months, he could choose between a seat in the cabinet and a popular pulpit in Wales.
What do you say to that, Doolittle?
Not me, Governor. Thank you kindly. I've heard all the preachers and all the prime ministers, for I'm a thinking man and game for politics or religion or social reform, same as all the other amusements. And I tell you, it's a dog's life any way you look at it. Undeserving poverty is my line. Taking one station in society with another, it's the only thing that has any ginger in it to my taste.
I suppose we must give him a fiver.
You make a bad use of it, I'm afraid.
Not for me, Governor, and certainly I won't. Don't you be afraid that I'll save it and spare it and live idle on it. There won't be a penny of it left by Monday. I'll have to go to work same as if I'd never had it. It won't pauperise me, you bet. Just one good spree for myself and the missus, giving pleasure to ourselves and employment to others and satisfaction to you to think it's not been thrown away. You couldn't spend it better.
Oh, this is irresistible. Let's give him 10.
Oh, no, Governor. She wouldn't have the heart to spend 10. And perhaps I shouldn't either. £10 is a lot of money. It makes a man feel prudent like, and goodbye to happiness. Give me what I ask you, Governor. Not a penny more, not a penny less.
Why don't you marry that missus of yours? I'd rather draw the line at encouraging that sort of immorality.
Tell her so, Governor. Tell her so. I'm willing. It's me that suffers by it. I've no hold on her. Got to be agreeable to her. I've got to give her presents. I've got to buy her clothes, something sinful. I'm a slave to that woman, Governor. That's because I'm not a lawful husband. And she knows it too. Catch her marrying me. Take my advice, Governor. Marry Eliza while she's young and don't know no better. If you don't, you'll be sorry for it after. If you do, she'll be sorry for it after, but better you than her, because you're a man and she's only a woman, don't know how to be happy anyhow.
Pickering, if we listen to this man another minute, we shall have no convictions left. £5, I think you said?
Thank you kindly, Governor.
You're sure you won't take 10?
Not now, Governor. Another time, maybe.
Here you are.
Thank you, Governor. Good morning. Beg pardon, miss.
Come on, how do you know your own daughter?
What's
that? Me?
This?
Eliza?
Oh, don't I look silly?
Silly?
Now, Mr. Higgins, please don't say anything to make the girl conceited about herself.
Oh, quite right, Mrs. Pierce. Yes, damned silly.
Please, sir.
I mean, extremely silly.
I should look all right with my hat on.
A new fashion, by George, and it ought to look horrible.
Well, I never thought she'd clean up looking as good looking as that. She's a credit to me, ain't she, Governor?
I tell you, it's easy to clean up here. Hot and cold water on tap, just as much as you like. There is woolly towels, there is, and a towel or so hot it burns your fingers. Soft brushes to scrub yourself, and a wooden bowl full of soap smelling of primroses. Now I know why ladies are so clean. Washing's a treat for them. I wish they saw what it's like for the likes of me.
I'm glad the bathroom met with your approval.
Well, it didn't. Not all of it. And I don't care who hears me say it. Mrs. Pierce knows.
What was wrong, Mrs. Pierce?
Oh, nothing, sir. It doesn't matter.
I had a good mind to break it. I didn't know which way to look. But I hung a towel over it, I did.
Over what?
Over the looking glass, sir.
Doolittle, have you brought your daughter up too strictly?
Me? I never brought her up at all, except to give her a lick of a strap now and again. Don't put it on me, Governor. She ain't accustomed to it, you see. That's all. But she'll soon pick up your free and easy ways.
I'm a good girl, I am, and I won't pick up no free and easy ways.
Eliza, if you say again that you're a good girl, your father shall take you home.
Not him. You don't know my father. All he come here for was to touch you for some money. Get drunk on.
What else would I want money for? To put in a plate in church, I suppose? And don't give me none of your lip, and don't let me hear you giving this gentleman any of it neither. You'll hear from me about it, see?
Have you any further advice to give her before you go, Doolittle? Your blessing, for instance?
Nah, Governor, I ain't got such a mug as to put my children to all I know myself. Hard enough to hold 'em in without that. If you want Eliza's mind improved, Governor, you do it yourself with a strap. So long, gentlemen.
Stop. You'll come regularly to see your daughter. It's your duty, you know. My brother is a clergyman, and he could help you in your talks with her.
Certainly I'll come, Governor. Not just this week, because I have a job at a distance, but later on, you may depend on me. Afternoon, gentlemen. Afternoon, Mum.
Don't you believe the old liar? He's as soon you set a bulldog on him as a clergyman. You won't see him again in a hurry.
I don't want to, Eliza. Do you?
Not me. I don't never want to see him again. I don't. He's a disgrace to me, he is, collecting dust instead of working his trade.
What is his trade, Eliza?
Talking money out of other people's pockets into his own. Well, his proper trade's navvy. He works at it sometimes, too, for exercise. He's got money at it. Aren't you going to call me Miss Doolittle anymore?
I beg your pardon, Miss Doolittle. It was a slip of the tongue.
Oh, I don't mind. Only it sounded so genteel. I should just like to take a taxi to the corner of Tottenham Court Road and get all out there and tell it to wait for me, just to put the girls in their place a bit. I wouldn't speak to them, you know.
And better wait until we get you something really fashionable.
Besides, you shouldn't cut your old friends out now that you have risen in the world. That's what we call snobbery.
You don't call the like of them my friends now, I should hope. They've took it out of me often enough with their with their ridicule when they had the chance. And now I mean to get me on back. But if I'm to have fashionable clothes, I'll wait. I should like to have some. Mrs. Pierce said you're going to give me some to wear in bed at night, different to what I wear in the daytime. But it do seem a waste of money when you could get something to show. Besides, I never could fancy changing into cold things on a winter night.
Oh, now Eliza, the new things have come for you to try on.
Oh!
Oh, don't rush about like that, girl.
Pickering, we have taken on a stiff job.
Higgins, we have.
End of Act 2. Act 3.
Henry, what are you doing here today? It is my at-home day. You promised not to come.
Oh, bother.
Go home at once.
I know, Mother. I came on purpose.
But you mustn't. I'm serious, Henry. You offend all my friends. They stop coming whenever they meet you.
Nonsense. I know I have no small talk, but people don't mind.
Oh, don't they? Small talk indeed. What about your large talk? Really, dear, you mustn't stay.
I must. I have a job for you, a phonetic job.
No use, dear. I'm sorry, but I can't get round your vowels. And though I like to get pretty postcards in your patent shorthand, I always have to read the copies in ordinary writing you so thoughtfully send me.
Well, this isn't a phonetic job.
You said it was.
Not your part of it. I've picked up a girl.
Does that mean that some girl has picked you up?
Not at all. I don't mean a love affair.
What a pity.
Why?
Well, you never fall in love with anyone under 45. When will you discover that there are some rather nice-looking young women about?
Oh, I can't be bothered with young women. My idea of a lovable woman is something as like you as possible. I shall never get into the way of seriously liking young women. Some habits lie too deep to be changed. Besides, they're all idiots.
You know what you would do if you really loved me, Henry.
Oh, bother. What? Marry, I suppose?
No, stop fidgeting. Take your hands out of your pockets. That's a good boy. Now, tell me about the girl.
She's coming to see you.
I don't remember asking her.
You didn't. I asked her. If I'd known her, or if you'd known her, you wouldn't have asked her.
Indeed. Why?
Well, it's like this. She's a common flower girl. I picked her off the curbstone.
And invited her to my at home.
Oh, that'll be all right. I've taught her to speak properly, and she has strict orders to her behavior. She's to keep to two subjects, the weather and everybody's health. Fine day and how do you do, you know. And not to let herself go on things in general. That will be safe.
Talk about our health, about our insides, perhaps about our outsides. How could you be so silly, Henry?
Well, she must talk about something. Oh, she'll be all right. Don't you fuss. Pickering is in it with me. I've a sort of bet on I'll pass her off as a duchess in 6 months. I started on her some months ago, and she's getting on like a house on fire. I shall win my bet. She has a quick ear, and she's been easier to teach than my middle-class pupils because she's had to learn a complete new language. She talks English almost as you talk French.
That's satisfactory at all events.
Well, it is, and it isn't.
What does that mean?
You see, I've got her pronunciation all right, but you have to consider not only how a girl pronounces, but what she pronounces, and that's where...
Mrs. and Miss Ensford Hill.
Oh, Lord.
How do you do?
How do you do?
My son, Henry.
Oh, your celebrated son. I have so longed to meet you, Professor Higgins.
Delighted.
How do you do?
I've seen you somewhere before. I haven't the ghost of a notion where, but I've heard your voice. It doesn't matter. You'd better sit down.
I'm sorry to say that my celebrated son has no manners. You mustn't mind him.
I don't.
Not at all.
Oh, have I been rude? I didn't mean to be.
Colonel Pickering.
How do you do, Mrs. Higgins?
So glad you've come. Do you know Mrs. Ainsford Hill? Miss Ainsford Hill?
Has Henry told you what we've come for?
We were interrupted, damn it.
Oh, Henry, really?
Are we in the way?
No, you couldn't have come more fortunately. We want you to meet a friend of ours.
Yes, by George. We want 2 or 3 people. You'll do as well as anybody else.
Mr. Ainsford Hill.
God of heaven, another of them.
Audible?
Very good of you to come. Colonel Pickering.
Audible.
I don't think you know my son, Professor Higgins.
Audible?
I'll take my oath. I've met you before somewhere. Where was it?
I don't think so.
Oh, it doesn't matter anyway. Sit down. Well, here we are now. And now, what the devil are we going to talk about until Eliza comes?
Henry, you are the life and soul of the Royal Society's soirees, but really you're rather trying on more commonplace occasions.
Am I? Very sorry. I suppose I am, you know. Ha, ha.
I sympathize. I haven't any small talk. If people would only be frank and say what they really think.
Oh, Lord forbid.
But why?
What they think they ought to think is bad enough, Lord knows. But what they really think would break up the whole show. Do you suppose it would be really agreeable if I were to come out now with what I really think?
Is it so very cynical?
Cynical? Who the dickens said it was cynical? I mean, it wouldn't be decent.
Oh, I'm sure you don't mean that, Mr. Higgins.
But you see, we are all savages, more or less. We're supposed to be civilized and cultured to know all about poetry and philosophy and art and science and so on, but how many of us know even the meanings of these names? What do you know of poetry, Miss Hill? What do you know of science, Mrs. Hill? Does Mr. Hill know of art or science or anything else? What the devil do you imagine I know of philosophy?
Or of manners, Henry.
Miss Doolittle.
Here she is, Mother.
How do you do, Mrs. Higgins? Mr. Higgins told me I might come.
Quite right. I'm very glad indeed to see you.
How do you do, Miss Doolittle?
Colonel Pickering, is it not?
I feel sure we have met before, Miss Doolittle. I remember your eyes.
How do you do?
My daughter, Clara.
How do you do?
How do you do?
I've certainly had the pleasure.
My son, Freddie.
How do you do?
By George, yes! It all comes back to me. Covent Garden! Oh, what a damned thing.
Henry, please!
Sorry?
Will it rain, do you think?
The shallow depression in the west of these islands is likely to move slowly in an easterly direction. There are no indications of any great change in the barometrical situation.
Ha ha! How awfully funny.
What is wrong with that, young man? I bet I got it right.
Killing.
I'm sure I hope it won't turn cold. There's so much influenza about. It runs right through our whole family regularly every spring.
My aunt died of influenza, so they said.
Oh.
But it's my belief they done the old woman in.
Done her in?
Yes, Lord love you. Why should she die of influenza? She come through diphtheria right enough the year before. I saw her with my own eyes. Fairly blue with it she was. They all thought she was dead, but my father kept ladling gin down her throat, till she come to so sudden she bit the bowl off the spoon.
Dear me.
What call would a woman with that strength in her have to die of influenza? What become of her new straw hat that should have come to me? Somebody pinched it, and what I say is, them as pinched it done her in.
What does doing her in mean?
Oh, that's the new small talk. To do a person in means to kill them.
You surely don't believe that your aunt was killed?
Do I not? Them she lived with would have killed her for a hat pin, let alone a hat.
But it can't have been right for your father to pour spirits down her throat like that. It might have killed her.
Not her. Gin was mother's milk to her. Besides, he'd poured so much down his own throat that he knew the good of it.
Do you mean that he drank?
Drank? My word, something chronic.
How dreadful for you.
Not a bit. It never did him any harm, what I could see. But then he did not keep it up regular, on the burst, as you might say, from time to time. And always more agreeable when he had a drop in. When he was out of work, my mother used to give him 4pence and tell him to go out and not come back until he'd drunk himself cheerful and loving like. There's lots of women has to make their husbands drunk to make them fit to live with. You see, it's like this. If a man has a bit of a conscience, it always takes him when he's sober, and then it makes him low-spirited. A drop of booze just takes off the edge and makes him happy. Here, what are you sniggering at?
New small talk. You do it so awfully well.
If I was doing it proper, what was you laughing at? Have I said anything I oughtn't?
Not at all, Miss Doolittle.
Well, that's a mercy. Anyhow, what I always say is that... Well, I must go. So pleased to have met you. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye, Colonel Pickering.
Goodbye, Miss Doolittle.
Goodbye, all.
Are you walking across the park, Miss Doolittle? If so...
Walk? Not bloody likely. I am going in a taxi.
Well, I really can't get used to the new ways.
Oh, it's all right, Mama. Quite right. People will think we never go anywhere or see anybody if you are so old-fashioned.
I dare say I am very old-fashioned, but I do hope you won't begin using that expression, Clara. I've got accustomed to you hearing about men as rotters and calling everything filthy and beastly, though I do think it horrible and unladylike. But this last is really too much. Don't you think so, Colonel Pickering?
Don't ask me. I've been away in India for several years, and manners have changed so much I sometimes don't know whether I'm at a respectable dinner table or in a ship's forecastle.
It's all a matter of habit. There's no right or wrong in it. Nobody means anything by it. It's so quaint and gives such a smart emphasis to things that are not in themselves very witty. I find the new small talk delightful and quite innocent.
Well, after that, I think it's time for us to go.
Oh, yes, we've 3 at homes to go to still. Goodbye, Mrs. Higgins. Goodbye, Colonel Pickering. Goodbye, Professor Higgins.
Goodbye. Be sure you try on that small talk at the 3 at homes. Don't be nervous about it. Pitch it in strong.
I will. Goodbye. Such nonsense, all this early Victorian prudery.
Such damned nonsense.
Such bloody nonsense.
Clara!
Well, I ask you. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Would you like to meet Miss Doolittle again?
Yes, I should, most awfully.
Well, you know my days.
Yes. Thanks awfully. Goodbye.
Goodbye, Mr. Higgins.
Goodbye. Goodbye.
It's no use. I shall never be able to bring myself to use that word.
Don't. It's not compulsory, you know. You'll get on quite well without it.
Oh, Clara is so down on me if I'm not positively reeking with the latest slang. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
You mustn't mind Clara. We're so poor, and she gets so few parties, poor child. She doesn't quite know. But the boy is nice, don't you think so?
Oh, quite nice. I shall always be delighted to see him.
Thank you, dear. Goodbye.
Well, is Eliza presentable?
You silly boy, of course she's not presentable. She's a triumph of your art and of her dressmakers, but if you suppose for a moment that she doesn't give herself away in every sentence she utters, you must be perfectly cracked about her.
But don't you think something might be done? I mean, something to eliminate the sanguinary element from her conversation.
Not as long as she is in Henry's hands.
Do you mean that my language is improper?
No, dearest. It would be quite proper, say in a canal barge, but it would not be proper for her at a garden party.
Well, I must say...
Come, Higgins, you must learn to know yourself. I haven't heard such language as yours since we used to review the volunteers in Hyde Park 20 years ago.
Oh, well, if you say so. I suppose I don't always talk like a bishop.
Colonel Pickering, will you tell me what is the exact state of things in Wimpole Street?
Well, I have come to live there with Henry. We work together by Indian dialects, and we think it is more convenient.
Quite so. I know all about that. It's an excellent arrangement. But where does this girl live?
With us, of course. Where would she live?
But on what terms? Is she a servant? If not, what is she?
I think I know what you mean, Mrs.
Well,
Higgins.
dash me if I do. I've had to work at the girl every day for months to get her to present her present pitch. Besides, she's useful. She knows where my things are. She remembers my appointments and so forth.
How does your housekeeper get on with her?
Mrs. Pierce? Oh, she's jolly glad to get so much taken off her hands. For before Eliza came, she had to find things and remind me of my appointments. But she's got some silly bee in her bonnet about Eliza. She keeps saying, "You don't think, sir," doesn't she, Pick?
Yes, that's the formula. You don't think, sir. That's the end of every conversation about Eliza.
As if I ever stopped thinking about the girl and her confounded consonants and vowels. I'm worn out thinking about her and watching her lips and her teeth and her tongue, not to mention her soul, which is the quaintest of lot.
You certainly are a pretty pair of babies playing with your live doll.
Play? The hardest job I ever tackled, make no mistake about that, Mother. But you have no idea how frightfully interesting it is to take a human being and change her into a quite different human being by creating a new speech for her. It's filling up the deepest gulf that separates class from class and soul from soul.
Yes, it's enormously interesting, I assure you, Mrs. Higgins. We take Eliza very seriously. Every week, every day almost, there is some new change. We keep records of every stage, dozens of gramophone discs and photographs.
Yes, by George, it's the most absorbing experiment I ever tackled. She regularly fills up our lives, doesn't she, Pick?
We're always talking Eliza.
Taking Eliza.
Dressing Eliza.
What?
Inventing new Elizas.
I assure you, my dear Mrs. Higgins,
You know, she has the most extraordinary quickness to hear, just like a parrot.
We've taken her to
Tried her with every possible sort of sound that a human being can make. Continental dialects, African dialects. Hears right off home that she's Beethoven. She picks them up like a shot right away, as if she'd been at it all her life.
Quiet!
Beg your pardon?
Sorry. When Pickering starts shouting, nobody can get a word in edgewise.
Be quiet, Henry! Colonel Pickering! Don't you realize that when Eliza walked into Wimpole Street, something walked in with her?
Her father did, but Henry soon got rid of him.
It would have been more to the point if her mother had, but as her mother didn't, something else did.
But what?
A problem.
Oh, I see. The problem of how to pass her off as a lady.
I'll solve that problem. I have solved it already.
No, you two infinitely stupid male creatures. The problem of what is to be done with her afterwards.
I don't see anything in that. She can go her own way with all the advantages I have given her.
The advantages of that poor woman who was here just now, the manners and habits that disqualify a fine lady from earning her own living without giving her a fine lady's income. Is that what you mean?
Oh, that'll be all right, Mrs. Higgins.
We'll find her some light employment.
She's happy enough. Don't you worry about her. Goodbye.
Anyhow, there's no good bothering now. The thing's done. Goodbye, Mother.
There are plenty of openings. We'll do what's right. Goodbye.
Let's take her to the Shakespeare exhibition at Earl's Court.
Yes, let's. Her remarks will be delicious.
She'll mimic all the people for us when we get home.
Ripping!
Oh, men!
End of Act 3. We will now take a very brief 5-minute intermission. Thank you once again for joining us for Pygmalion. We now return to the play with Act 4.
I say, Pick, lock up, will you? I shan't be down again.
Right, can Mrs. Pierce go to bed? We don't want anything more, do we?
Lord, no.
I say, Mrs. Pierce will row if we leave these things lying about in the drawing room.
Oh, chuck them over the banisters into the hall. She'll find them there in the morning and put them away all right. She'll think we were drunk.
Yeah, slightly. Are there any letters?
I didn't look. I wonder where the devil my slippers are.
Only circulars and this coronated billet doux of you, for you.
Moneylender. Oh, Lord. What an evening. What a crew. What a silly tomfoolery. Oh. There they are they?
Well, I feel a bit tired. It's been a long day. The garden party, a dinner party, and the opera. Too much of a good thing. But you've won your bet, Higgins. Eliza did the trick and something to spare, eh?
Oh, thank God it's over.
Were you nervous at the garden party? I was. Eliza didn't seem a bit nervous.
Oh, she wasn't nervous. I knew she'd be all right. No, it's the strain of putting the job through all these months that has told on me. It was interesting enough at first while we were at the phonetics, but after that, I got deadly sick of it. If I hadn't backed myself to do it, I should have chucked the whole thing up 2 months ago. It was a silly notion. The whole thing has been a bore.
Oh, come. The garden party was frightfully exciting. My heart began beating like anything.
Yes, for the first 3 minutes. But when I saw that we were going to win hands down, I felt like a bear in a cage, hanging about doing nothing. The dinner was worse, sitting gorging there for over an hour, with nobody but a damned fool of a fashionable woman to talk to. I tell you, Pickering, and never again for me. No more artificial duchesses. The whole thing has simply been purgatory.
You've never been broken in properly to the social routine. I rather enjoy dipping into it occasionally myself. It makes me feel young again. Anyhow, it was a great success, an immense success. I was quite frightened once or twice because Eliza was doing it so well. You see, lots of the real people can't do it at all. They're such fools. They think style comes by nature to people in their position, and so they never learn. There's always something professional about doing a thing superlatively well.
Yes, that's what drives me mad. The silly people don't know their own silly business. However, it's over and done with, and now I can go to bed at last without dreading tomorrow.
I think I shall turn in too. Still, it's been a great occasion, a triumph for you. Good night.
Good night. Put out the lights, Eliza, and tell Mrs. Pierce not to make coffee for me in the morning. I'll take tea. What the devil have I done with my slippers?
There are your slippers. And there, take your slippers, and may you never have a day's luck with them.
What on earth? What's the matter? Get up. Anything wrong?
Nothing wrong with you. I've won your bet for you, haven't I? That's enough for you. I don't matter, I suppose.
You won my bet. Presumptuous insect. I won it. What did you throw these slippers at me for?
Because I wanted to smash your face. I'd like to kill you, you selfish brute. Why didn't you leave me where you picked me out of, in the gutter? You thank God it's all over. And then now you can throw me back there again, do you?
The creature is nervous after all. Would you... Claws in, you cat! How dare you show your temper at me? Sit down and be quiet.
What's to become of me? What's to become of me?
How the devil do I know what's to become of you? What does it matter what becomes of you?
You don't care. I know you don't care. You wouldn't care if I was dead. I'm nothing to you. Not so much as them slippers.
Those slippers.
Those slippers. I didn't think it made any difference now.
Why have you begun going on like this? May I ask whether you complain of your treatment here?
No.
Has anybody behaved badly to you? Colonel Pickering, Mrs. Pierce, any of the servants?
No.
I presume you don't pretend that I have treated you badly?
No.
I'm glad to hear it. Perhaps you're tired after the strain of the day. Will you have a glass of champagne?
No. Thank you.
This has been coming on on you for some days. I suppose it was natural for you to be anxious about the garden party, but that's all over now. There's nothing more to worry about.
No, nothing more for you to worry about. Oh God, I wish I was dead.
Why? In heaven's name, why? Listen to me, Eliza. All this irritation is purely subjective.
I don't understand. I'm too ignorant.
It's only imagination, low spirits and nothing else. Nobody's hurting you. Nothing's wrong. You go to bed like a good girl and sleep it off. Have a little cry and say your prayers, and that will make you comfortable.
I heard your prayers. Thank God it's all over.
Well, don't you thank God it's all over? Now you are free and can do what you like.
What am I fit for? What have you left me fit for? Where am I to go? What am I to do? What is to become of me?
Oh, that's what's worrying you, is it? I shouldn't bother about it if I were you. I should imagine you won't have much difficulty in settling yourself somewhere or other, though I hadn't quite realized that you were going away. You might marry, you know. You see, Eliza, all men are not confirmed old bachelors like me and the Colonel. Most men are the marrying sort, poor devils. And you're not bad looking. It's quite a pleasure to look at you sometimes. Not now, of course, because you're crying and looking as ugly as the very devil. But when you're all right, you're quite yourself. You're what I would call attractive. That is, to the people in the marrying line, you understand. You go to bed and have a good, nice rest. Then get up and look at yourself in the glass, and you won't feel so cheap. I dare say my mother could find some chap or other who would do very well.
We were above that at the corner of Tottenham Court Road.
What do you mean?
I sold flowers. I didn't sell myself. Now you've made a lady of me, I'm not fit to sell anything else. I wish you'd left me where you found me.
Tosh, Eliza. Don't you insult human relations by dragging all this cunt and buying and selling into it. You needn't marry the fellow if you don't like him.
What else am I to do?
Oh, lots of things. What about your old idea of a florist shop? Pickering could set you up in one. He's lots of money. He'll have to pay for all those togs you have been wearing today, and that, with the hire of the jewellery, will make a hole in £200. Why, 6 months ago, I could have thought it a millennium to have a flower shop of your own. Come, you'll be all right. I must clear off bed. I'm devilishly sleepy. By the way, I came down for something. I forgot what it was.
Your slippers.
Yes, of course. You shied them at me.
Before you go, sir.
Huh?
Do my clothes belong to me or to Colonel Pickering?
What the devil use would they be to Colonel Pickering?
You might want them for the next girl you choose to experiment on.
Is that the way you feel toward us?
I don't want to hear anything more about that. All I want to know is whether anything belongs to me. My own clothes were burnt.
But what does it matter? Why need you start bothering about that in the middle of the night?
I want to know what I may take away with me. I don't want to be accused of stealing.
Stealing? You shouldn't have said that, Eliza. That shows a want of feeling.
I'm sorry. I'm only a common ignorant girl, and in my station I have to be careful. There can't be any feelings between the like of you and the like of me. Please, will you tell me what belongs to me and what doesn't?
I might take the whole damned houseful if you like, except the jewels they're hired. Will that satisfy you?
Stop, please. Will you take these to your room and keep them safe? I don't want to run the risk of their being missing.
Hand them over. If these belonged to me instead of to the jeweler, I'd ram them down your ungrateful throat.
This ring isn't the jeweler's. It's the one you bought me in Brighton. I don't want it now. Don't you hit me!
Hit you? You infamous creature, how dare you accuse me of such a thing? It is you who have hit me. You have wounded me to the heart.
Well, I'm glad. I've got a little of my own back, at least.
You have caused me to lose my temper. A thing that has hardly ever happened to me before. I prefer to say nothing more tonight. I am going to bed.
You'd better leave a note for Mrs. Pierce about the coffee. She won't be told by me.
Damn Miss Pierce, and damn the coffee, and damn you, and damn my own folly for having lavished my hard-earned knowledge and the treasure of my regard and intimacy on a heartless gutter snipe.
End of Act 4. Act 5.
Mr. Henry, ma'am, is downstairs with Colonel Pickering.
Well, show them up.
They're using the telephone, ma'am. Telephoning to the police, I think.
What?
Mr. Henry's in a state, ma'am. I thought I'd better tell you.
If you had told me that Mr. Henry was not in a state, it would have been more surprising. Tell them to come up when they finish with the police. I suppose he's lost something.
Yes, ma'am.
Go upstairs and tell Miss Doolittle that Mr. Henry and the Colonel are here. Ask her not to come down till I send for her.
Yes, ma'am.
Look, Mother, here's a confounded thing.
Yes, dear, good morning. What is it?
Eliza's bolted.
You must have frightened her.
Frightened her? Nonsense. She was left last night, as usual, to turn out the lights and all that, and instead of going to bed, she changed her clothes and went right off. Her bed wasn't slept in. She came in a cab for her things before 7 this morning, and that fool, Mrs. Pierce, let her have them without telling me a word about it. What am I to do?
Do without, I'm afraid, Henry. The girl has a perfect right to leave if she chooses.
But I can't find anything. I don't know what appointments I've got. I'm completely...
Good morning, Mrs. Higgins. Has Henry told you?
What does that ass of an inspector say? Have you offered a reward?
You don't mean to say you have set the police after Eliza?
Of course. What are the police for? What else could we do?
The inspector made a lot of difficulties. I really think he suspected us of some improper purpose.
Well, of course he did. What right have you to go to the police and give the girl's name as if she were a thief or a lost umbrella or something? Really?
But we want to find her.
You can't let her go like this, you know, Mrs. Higgins. What were we to do?
You have no more sense, either of you, than 2 children. Why?
Mr. Henry, a gentleman wants to see you, very particular. He's been sent on from Wimpole Street.
Oh, bother. I can't see anyone now. Who is it?
Mr. Doolittle, sir.
Doolittle? Do you mean the dustman?
Dustman? Oh, no, sir. A gentleman.
By George, Pick. It's some relative of hers that she's gone to. Somebody we know nothing about. Send him up, quick.
Yes, sir.
Genteel relatives. Now we shall hear something.
Do you know any of her people?
Only her father, the fellow we told you about.
Mr. Doolittle.
Now see here, you done this. You done this. You see this?
Done what, man?
This, I tell you, look at it. Look at my hat. Look at this coat.
Has Eliza been buying you clothes?
Eliza? Not she, not half. Why would she buy me clothes?
Good morning, Mr. Doolittle. Won't you sit down?
Asking your pardon, Mum. Thank you. I am that full of what has happened to me that I can't think of anything else.
What the dickens has happened to you?
I shouldn't mind if it had only happened to me. Anything might happen to anybody and nobody to blame but Providence, as you might say. But this is something that you done to me. Yes, you, Henry Higgins.
Have you found Eliza? That's the point.
Have you lost her?
Yes.
You've all the luck you have. I ain't found her, but she'll find me quick enough now after what you've done to me.
But what has my son done to you, Mr. Doolittle?
Done to me? Ruined me. Destroyed my happiness. Tied me up and delivered me into the hands of middle-class morality.
You're raving. You're drunk. You're mad. I gave you £5. After that, I had 2 conversations with you at £0.50 an hour. I've never seen you since.
Oh, drunk, am I? Mad, am I? Tell me this. Did you or did you not write a letter to an old blighter in America that was given $5 million to fund moral reform societies all over the world and that wanted you to invent a universal language for him?
What? Ezra D. Wannafeller? He's dead.
Yeah, he's dead. And now I'm done for. Now, did you or did you not write a letter to him to say that the most original moralist at present in England, to the best of your knowledge, was Alfred Doolittle, a common dustman?
Oh. After your last visit, I remember making some silly joke of the kind.
Oh, you may call it a silly joke. It put the lid on me right enough. Just give him the chance he wanted to show that Americans is not like us, that they recognise and respect merit in every class of life, however humble. Them words is in his bloomin' will, in which Henry Higgins, thanks to your silly joking, he leaves me a share in his pre-digested cheese trust worth $3,000 a year on condition that I lecture for his Wannafeller Moral Reform World League as often as they ask me to, up to 6 times a year.
The devil he does. Phew. What a lark.
A safe thing for you, Doolittle. They won't ask you twice.
Well, it ain't a lecturing I mind. I'll lecture him blue in the face, I will, and not turn a hair. It's making a gentleman of me that I object to. Who asked him to make a gentleman of me? I was happy. I was free. I touched pretty nigh everybody for money when I wanted it. Same as I touched you, Henry Higgins. Now I'm worried, tired neck and heels, and everybody touches me for money. It's a fine thing for you, says my solicitor. Is it? Says I. You mean it's a good thing for you, I says. When I was a poor man and had a solicitor once, they found me in a pram in a dust cart. Well, he got me off, and he got shut at me and me shut at him as quick as he could. Same with the doctors. Used to shove me out of the hospital before I could hardly stand on my legs and nothing to pay. Now they finds out that I'm not a healthy man and can't live unless they looks after me twice a day. In a house, I'm not let do a hand's turn for myself. Somebody else must do it and touch me for it. A year ago, I had no relative in the world except 2 or 3 that wouldn't speak to me. Now I'm 50 and not a decent week's wages among the lot of them. I have to live for others and not myself. That's middle-class morality. You talk of losing Eliza, don't you be anxious. I bet she's on my doorstep by this, that she could support herself easy by selling flowers if I weren't respectable. And the next one to touch me will be you, Henry Higgins. I have to learn to speak middle-class language from you instead of speaking proper English. That's where you'll come in, and I dare say that's what you've done it for.
But my dear Mr. Doolittle, you need not suffer all this if you are really in earnest. Nobody can force you to accept this bequest. You can repudiate it. Isn't that so, Colonel Pickering?
I believe so.
That's the tragedy of it, man. It's easy to say chuck it, but I haven't the nerve. Which one of us has? We're all intimidated. Intimidated, Mum, that's what we are. What is there for me if I chuck it but the workhouse in my old age? I have to dye my hair already to keep my job as a dustman. If I was one of the deserving poor and had put by a bit, I could chuck it, but then why should I? Because the deserving poor might as well be millionaires for all the happiness they ever has. I don't know what happiness is. But I, as one of the undeserving poor, have nothing between me and the pauper's uniform, this blasted 3,000 a year, and shoves me into the middle class. Excuse the expression, ma'am, you'd use it yourself if you had my provocation. They've got you everywhere you turn. It's a choice between the skilly of the workhouse or the sharp biddies or the middle class, and I haven't the nerve for the workhouse and intimidated. That's all I am. Broke, bought up. Happier men than me will call for my dust and touch me for their tip, but I'll look on helpless and envy them. That's what your son has brought me to.
Well, I'm very glad you're not going to do anything foolish, Mr. Doolittle, for this solves the problem of Eliza's future. You can provide for her now.
Yes, Mum. I'm expected to provide for everyone now out of 3,000 a year.
Nonsense. He can't provide for her. He shan't provide for her. She doesn't belong to him. I paid him £5 for her. Doolittle, either you're an honest man or a rogue.
A little of both, Henry, like the rest of us.
Well,
a little of both.
Well, you took that money for the girl, and you have no right to take her as well.
Henry, don't be absurd. If you really want to know where Eliza is, she's upstairs.
Upstairs? Then I shall jolly soon fetch her downstairs.
Be quiet, Henry. Sit down. Sit down, dear, and listen to me.
Very well, very well, very well. But I think you might have told me this half an hour ago.
Eliza came to me this morning. She passed the night partly walking about in a rage, partly trying to throw herself into the river and being afraid to, and partly in the Carlton Hotel. She told me of the brutal way you two treated her.
What?
My dear Mrs. Higgins, she's been telling you stories. We didn't treat her brutally. We hardly said a word to her. And we parted on particularly good terms. Higgins, did you bully her after I went to bed?
Just the other way about. She threw my slippers in my face. She behaved in the most outrageous way. I never gave her the slightest provocation. The slippers came bang into my face the moment I entered the room before I had uttered a word, and used perfectly awful language.
Why? What did we do to her?
I think I know pretty well what you did. The girl is naturally rather affectionate, I think. Isn't she, Mr. Doolittle?
Very tender-hearted, ma'am. Takes after me.
Just so. She had become attached to you both. She worked very hard for you, Henry. I don't think you quite realize what anything in the nature of brain work means to a girl like that. Well, it seems that when the great day of trial came, she did this wonderful thing for you without making a single mistake. You two sat there and never said a word to her, but talked together of how glad you were that it was all over, and how you had been bored with the whole thing. And then you were surprised because she threw your slippers at you. I should have thrown the fire irons at you.
We said nothing except that we were tired and wanted to go to bed. Did we, Pick?
That was all.
Quite sure?
Absolutely. Really, that was all.
You didn't thank her, or pet her, or admire her, or tell her how splendid she'd been.
But she knew all about that. We didn't make speeches to her, if that's what you mean.
Perhaps we were a little inconsiderate. Is she very angry?
Well, I'm afraid she won't go back to Wimpole Street, especially now that Mr. Doolittle is able to keep up the position you have thrust on her. But she says she is quite willing to meet you on friendly terms and to let bygones be bygones.
She is, by George. Oh.
If you promise to behave yourself, Henry, I'll ask her to come down. If not, go home, for you have taken up quite enough of my time.
Oh, all right. Very well. Dick, behave yourself. Let us put on our best Sunday manners for this creature that we picked out of the mud.
Now, Henry Higgins, have some consideration for my feelings as a middle-class man.
Remember your promise, Henry. Mr. Doolittle, you will be so good as to step out on the balcony for a moment. I don't want Eliza to have the shock of your news until she has made it up with these two gentlemen. Would you mind?
As you wish, lady. Anything to help Henry keep her off my hands.
Ask Miss Doolittle to come down, please.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, Henry, be good.
I am behaving myself perfectly.
He is doing his best, Mrs. Higgins.
Henry, dearest, you don't look at all nice in that attitude.
I was not trying to look nice, Mother.
It doesn't matter, dear. I only wanted to make you speak.
Why?
Because you can't speak and whistle at the same time.
Where the devil is that girl? Are we to wait here all day?
How do you do, Professor Higgins? Are you quite well?
I am.
But of course you are. You are never ill. So glad to see you again, Colonel Pickering. Quite chilly this morning, isn't it?
Don't you dare try this game on me. I taught it to you, and it doesn't take me in. Get up and come home, and don't be a fool.
Very nicely put indeed, Henry. No woman could resist such an invitation.
You let her alone, Mother. Let her speak for herself. You will jolly soon see whether she has an idea that I haven't put into her head, or a word that I haven't put into her mouth. I tell you, I have created this thing out of a squashed cabbage leaves of Covenant Garden, and now she pretends to play the fine lady with me.
Yes, dear, but you'll sit down, won't you?
Will you drop me altogether now that the experiment is over, Colonel Pickering?
Oh, don't. You mustn't think of it as an experiment. It shocks me somehow.
Oh, but I'm only a squashed cabbage leaf.
No.
But I owe so much to you that I should be very unhappy if you forgot me.
It's very kind of you to say so, Mrs. Doolittle.
It's not because you paid for my dresses. I know you are generous to everybody with money. But it was from you that I learnt really nice manners, and that is what makes one lady, isn't it? You see, it was so very difficult for me, with the example of Professor Higgins always in front of me. I was brought up to be just like him, unable to control myself, and using bad language on the slightest provocation. And I should never have known that ladies and gentlemen didn't behave like that if you hadn't been there.
Well.
Oh, that's only his way, you know. He doesn't mean it.
Oh, I didn't mean it either when I was a flower girl. It was only my way. But you see, I did it. And that's what makes the difference after all.
No doubt. Still, he taught you to speak, and I couldn't have done that, you know.
Of course, that is his profession.
Damnation.
It was just like learning to dance in the fashionable way. There was nothing more than that in it. But do you know what began my real education?
What?
You calling me Miss Doolittle that day when I first came to Wimpole Street. That was the beginning of self-respect for me. And there were 100 little things you never noticed because they came naturally to you. Things about standing up and taking off your hat and opening doors.
Oh, that was nothing.
Yes, things showed you thought and felt about me as if I were something better than a scullery maid. Though, of course, I know you would have been just as nice to cut to a scullery maid if she had been let in the drawing room. You never took off your boots in the dining room when I was there.
You mustn't mind that. Higgins takes off his boots all over the place.
I know. I'm not blaming him. It's his way, isn't it? But it's made such a difference to me that you didn't do it. You see, really and truly, apart from the things that anyone can pick up, the dressing and the proper way of speaking and so on, the difference between a lady and a flower girl is not how she behaves, but how she's treated. I shall always be a flower girl to Professor Higgins, because he always treats me as a flower girl, and always will. But I know I can be a lady to you, because you always treat me as a lady, and always will.
Please, don't grind your teeth, Henry.
Well, this is very, very nice of you, Miss Doolittle.
I should like you to call me Eliza now, if you would.
Thank you. Eliza, of course.
And I should like Professor Higgins to call me Miss Doolittle.
I'll see you damned first.
Henry! Henry!
Why don't you slang back at him? Don't stand it. It would do him a lot of good.
I can't. I could have done it once, but now I can't go back to it. Last night, when I was wandering about, a girl spoke to me, and I tried to get back into the old way with her, but it was no use. You told me, you know, that when a child is brought to a foreign country, it picks up the language in a few weeks and forgets its own. Well, I am a child in your country. I have forgotten my own language and can speak nothing but yours. That's the real break-off at the corner of Tottenham Court Road. Leaving Wimpole Street finishes it.
Oh, but you're coming back to Wimpole Street, aren't you? You'll forgive Higgins.
Forgive? Will she, by George? Let her go. Let her find out how she can get on without us. She will relapse into the gutter in 3 weeks without me at her elbow.
He's incorrigible, Eliza. You won't relapse, will you?
No, not now. Never again. I've learnt my lesson. I don't believe I could utter one of the old sounds if I tried.
Ah, just so. Victory! Victory!
Can you blame the girl? Don't look at me like that, Eliza. It ain't my fault. I've come into money.
You must have touched a millionaire this time, Dad.
Well, I have, but I'm dressed something special today. I'm going to St. George's, Hanover Square. Your stepmother is going to marry me.
You're going to let yourself down to marry that low, common woman?
He ought to, Eliza. Why has she changed her mind, sir?
Intimidated, Governor. Intimidated. Middle-class morality claims its victim. Why don't you put on your hat, Eliza, and come and see me turned off?
The Colonel says I must. I'll demean myself and get insulted for my pains like enough.
Oh, don't be afraid. She never comes to words with anyone now, poor woman. Respectability has broke all the spirit out of her.
Be kind to them, Eliza. Make the best of it.
Oh, well, just to show there's no ill feeling, I'll be back in a moment.
I feel uncommon nervous about the ceremony, Colonel. I wish you'd come and see me through it.
But you've been through it before, man. You were married to Eliza's mother.
Who told you that, Colonel?
Well, nobody told me, but I concluded naturally.
Well, no, that ain't the natural way, Colonel. It's only the middle-class way. My way is always the undeserving way. If I don't say anything to Eliza she don't know, always had a delicacy about telling her.
Quite right. We'll leave it so, if you don't mind.
And you'll come to the church, Colonel, and put me through straight?
With pleasure. As far as a bachelor can.
May I come, Mr. Doolittle? I should be very sorry to miss your wedding.
Should be indeed honoured by your condescension, Mum. And my poor old woman would take it as a tremendous compliment. She's been very low, thinking of the happy days that I'll no more.
I'll order the carriage and get ready. I shan't be more than 15 minutes. I'm going to the church to see your father married, Eliza. You had better come in the brougham with me. Colonel Pickering, can go on with the bridegroom.
Bridegroom. What a word. Makes a man realise his position somehow.
Before I go, Eliza, do forgive him and come back to us.
I don't think Papa would allow me. Would you, Dad?
They played you off very cunning, Eliza, them two sportsmen. If it had been only one of them, you could have nailed him. But you see, there was two, and one of them chaperoned the other, you might say. It was artful of you, Colonel, but I bear no malice. I should have done the same myself. I've been a victim of one woman after another all my life, and I don't grudge you two getting the better of Eliza. I shan't interfere. It's time for us to go, Colonel. So long, Henry. See you in St. George's, Eliza.
Do stay with us, Eliza.
Well, Eliza, you've had quite a bit of your own back, as you call it. Have you had enough? And are you going to be reasonable, or do you want any more?
You want me back only to pick up your slippers and put up with your tempers and fetch and carry for you.
I haven't said I wanted you back at all.
Oh, indeed. Then what are we talking about?
About you, not about me. If you come back, I shall treat you just as I have always treated you. I can't change my nature, and I don't intend to change my manners. My manners are exactly the same as Colonel Pickering's.
That's not true. He treats a flower girl as if she was a duchess.
And I treat a duchess as if she was a flower girl.
I see, the same to everybody.
Just so.
Like father.
Without accepting the comparison at all points, Eliza, it's quite true that your father is not a snob, and that he will be quite at home in any station of life to which his eccentric destiny may call him. The great secret, Eliza, is not having bad manners or good manners or any other particular sort of manners, but having the same manner for all human souls. In short, behaving as if you were in heaven when there are no third-class carriages, where one soul is as good as another.
Amen. You are a born preacher.
The question is not whether I treat you rudely, but whether you have ever heard me treat anyone else better.
I don't care how you treat me. I don't mind your swearing at me. I don't mind a black eye. I've had one before this. But I won't be passed over.
Then get out of my way, for I won't stop for you. You talk about me as if I were a motor bus.
So you are a motor bus, all bounce and go and no consideration for anyone. But I can do without you. Don't think I can't.
I know you can. I told you you could.
I know you did, you brute. You wanted to get rid of me.
Liar.
Thank you.
You never asked yourself, I suppose, whether I could do without you.
Don't try and get around me. You'll have to do without me.
I can do without anybody. I have my own soul, my own spark of divine fire, but I shall miss you, Eliza. I have learned something from your idiotic notions. I confess that humbly and gratefully, I have grown accustomed to your voice and appearance. I rather like them.
Well, you have both of them on your gramophone and in your book of photographs. When you feel lonely without me, you can turn the machine on. It's got no feelings to hurt.
I can't turn on your soul. Leave me those feelings, and you can take away the voice and the face. They are not you.
Oh, you are a devil. You can twist the heart in a girl as easy as some could twist her arms to hurt her. Mrs. Pierce warned me. Time and again she has wanted to leave you. You always got round her at the last minute. And you don't care a bit for her. And you don't care a bit for me.
I care for life, for humanity. And you are part of it that has come my way and been built into my house. What more can you or anyone ask?
I won't care for anyone who doesn't care for me.
Commercial principles, Eliza. Like soil and violets in it.
Don't sneer at me. It's mean to sneer at me.
I have never sneered in my life. Sneering doesn't become either the human face or the human soul. I am expressing my righteous contempt for commercialism. I don't and won't trade in affection. You call me a brute because you couldn't buy a claim on me by fetching my slippers and finding my spectacles. You are a fool. I think a woman fetching a man's slippers is a disgusting sight. Did I ever fetch your slippers? I think a good deal more of you for throwing them in my face. No use slaving for me and then saying you want to be cared for. Who cares for a slave? If you come back for the sake of good fellowship, for you'll get nothing else. You've had 1,000 times as much out of me as I have out of you, and if you dare to set up your little dog's tricks of fetching and carrying slippers against my creation of a Duchess Eliza, I'll slam the door in your silly face.
Well, what did you do it for if you don't care for me?
Why, because it was my job.
You never thought of the trouble it would make for me.
Would the world ever have been made if its maker had been afraid of making trouble? Making life means making trouble. There's only one way of escaping trouble, and that's killing things. Cowards, you notice, are always shrieking to have some troublesome people killed.
I'm no preacher. I don't notice things like that. I notice that you don't notice me.
Eliza, I waste the treasures of my Miltonic mind by spreading them before you. Once for all, understand that I go my way and do my work without caring twopence what happens to either of us. I am not intimidated like your father and your stepmother, so you can come back or go to the devil, which you please.
What am I to come back for?
For the fun of it. That's why I took you on.
And you may throw me out tomorrow if I don't do everything you want me to.
Yes, and you may walk out tomorrow if I don't do everything you want me to.
And live with my stepmother.
Yes, or sell flowers.
Oh, if only I could go back to my flower basket. I should be independent of both you and father and all the world. Why did you take my independence from me? Why did I give it up? I'm a slave now for all my fine clothes.
Not a bit. I'll adopt you as my daughter and settle money on you if you like. Or would you rather marry Pickering?
I wouldn't marry you if you asked me, and you're nearer my age than he is.
Than he is, not than what he is.
I'll talk as I like. You're not my teacher now.
I don't suppose Pickering would, though. He's as confirmed an old bachelor as I am.
That's not what I want, and don't you think it. I've always had chaps enough wanting me that way. Freddie Hill writes to me 2 and 3 times a day, sheets and sheets.
Damn his impudence.
He has a right to write if he likes. Poor lad, and he does love me.
You have no right to encourage him.
Every girl has a right to be loved.
What, by fools like that?
Freddie's not a fool. If he's weak and poor and wants me, maybe he'd make me happier than my betters that bully me and don't want me.
Can he make anything of you? That's the point.
Perhaps I could make something of him. But I never thought of us making anything of one another, and you never think of anything else. I only want to be natural.
In short, you want me to be as infatuated about you as Freddie? Is that it?
No, I don't. That's not the sort of feeling I want from you, and don't you be too sure of yourself or of me. I could have been a bad girl if I'd liked. I've seen more of some things than you for all your learning. Girls like me can drag gentlemen down to make love to them easy enough, and they wish each other dead the next minute.
Of course they do. Then what in thunder are we quarreling about?
I want a little kindness. I know I'm a common ignorant girl, and you a book-learned gentleman, but I'm not dirt under your feet. What I did was not for the dresses and the taxis. I did it because we were pleasant together, and I came to care for you, not to want you to make love to me, and not forgetting the difference between us, but more friendly like.
Well, of course. That's just how I feel, and how Pickering feels. Eliza, you're a fool.
That's not a proper answer to give me.
It's all you'll get until you stop being a common idiot. If you're going to be a lady, you'll have to give up feeling neglected if the men you know don't spend half their time sniveling over you and the other half giving you black eyes. If you can't stand the coldness of my sort of life and the strain of it, go back to the gutter. Work till you are more a brute than a human being, and then cuddle and squabble and drink till you fall asleep. What's a fine life, the life of the gutter? It's real, it's warm, it's violent. You can feel it through the thickest skin. You can taste it and smell it without any training or any work. Not like science and literature and classical music and philosophy and art. You find me cold, unfeeling, selfish, don't you? Very well. Be off with you to the sort of people you like. Marry some sentimental hog or other with lots of money and a thick pair of lips to kiss you with and a thick pair of boots to kick you with. If you can't appreciate what you've got, you'd better get on with what you can appreciate.
Oh, you are a cruel tyrant. I can't talk to you. You turn everything against me. I'm always in the wrong. But you know very well all the time that you're nothing but a bully. You know I can't go back to the gutter, as you call it, and that I have no real friends in the world but you and the Colonel. You know well I couldn't bear to live with a low common man after you two, and it's wicked and cruel of you to insult me by pretending I could. You think I must go back to Wimpole Street because I have nowhere else to go but father's. But don't you be too sure that you have me under your feet to be trampled on and talked down. I'll marry Freddie, I will, as soon as he's able to support me.
Rubbish. You shall marry an ambassador. You shall marry the Governor General of India, the Lord Lieutenant of Ireland, or somebody who wants a deputy queen. I'm not going to have my masterpiece thrown away on Freddie.
You think I like you to say that. But I haven't forgot what you said a minute ago, and I won't be coaxed round as if I was a baby or a puppy. If I can't have kindness, I'll have independence.
Independence? That's middle-class blasphemy. We are all dependent on one another, every soul of us on earth.
I'll let you see whether I'm dependent on you. If you can preach, I can teach. I'll go and be a teacher.
What'll you teach in heaven's name?
What you taught me. I'll teach phonetics. I'll offer myself as an assistant to Professor Nepean.
What? That impostor? That humbug? That toadying ignoramus? Teach him my methods, my discoveries? You take one step in his direction and I'll wring your neck, do you hear?
Oh, wring away. What do I care? I knew you'd strike me someday. Now I know how to deal with you. What a fool I was to not think of it before. You can't take away the knowledge you gave me. You said I had a finer ear from you, and I can be civil and kind to people, which is more than you can. That's done you, Henry Higgins. It has. Now I don't care that for your bullying and your big talk. I'll advertise in the papers that your duchess is only a flower girl that you taught, and that she'll teach anybody to be a duchess just the same in 6 months for 1,000 guineas. Oh, when I think of myself crawling under your feet and being trampled on by you and called names, when all the time I only had to lift up my finger to be as good as you, I could kick myself.
You damned impudent girl, you. But it's better than sniveling, better than fetching slippers and finding spectacles, isn't it? By George, Eliza, I said I'd make a woman of you, and I have. I like you like this.
Yes, you turn around and make it up to me now that I'm not afraid of you and I can do without you.
Of course I do, you little fool. 5 minutes ago, you were like a millstone round my neck. Now you're a tower of strength, a consort battleship. You and I and Pickering will be 3 old bachelors together instead of 2 men and a silly girl.
The carriage is waiting, Eliza. Are you ready?
Quite. Is the professor coming?
Certainly not. He can't behave himself in church. He makes remarks out loud all the time on the clergyman's pronunciation.
Then I shall not see you again, Professor. Goodbye.
Goodbye, dear.
Goodbye, Mother. Oh, by the way, Eliza, order a ham and a Stilton cheese, will you? And buy me a pair of reindeer gloves, number 8s, and a tie to match that new suit of mine at Erland Binman's. You can choose the color.
Buy them yourself.
I'm afraid you've spoiled the girl, Henry. But never mind, dear. I'll buy you the tie and gloves.
Oh, don't bother. She'll buy 'em all right. Goodbye.
Thank you for joining us for Pygmalion. We would once again like to thank all the actors who have volunteered to read with us this evening. Thank you so much. While you're surfing the web, and let's face it, what else are you going to do? Visit our friend, Your Friendly Neighborhood Shakespeare, at his website, shakespeareapproves.com, or on Facebook at Shakespeare Approves, Your Friendly Neighborhood Shakespeare. Please also check out A Midsummer Night's Dream of Equality, produced by our friend Maisha El and I. If you can contribute to or share the Indiegogo link, it's in the comments of this video. Half of all those proceeds will go to the NAACP's Legal Defense Fund, a 501c3 charitable organization that fights for racial justice by, among other things, working to protect voting rights and reform our criminal justice system. We have links to all of that content and more in the comments of this video. If you want more information on us, including how to be involved in a reading like this one, head to our Facebook page, Zenith Players, send us a message, or send us an email, casting@zenithplayers.com, and I will get back to you as soon as possible. We want to continue to express our support to all those out there who are working to keep us safe and those continuing to protest and demonstrate. Join us this coming Saturday as we continue our Shakespeare readings with 2 Gentlemen of Verona. Thank you and good night.